I'm going to be talking to you in this Google tour on Google Earth Pro about the development goal number 7, which is to ensure environmental sustainability. Since the late 1960s, Mauritania, a desert country, has consisted of 3/4 of it. It's experiencing a worrying development of its environmental profile, characterized especially by a surge of desertification and continuing degradation of agricultural and grazing land and reduced fishing stocks. Mauritania has grown a lot. This development led to the breakdown of the balance of ecosystems and loss of biodiversity, particularly in the protected forests and wetlands. Added to this are deterioration of the urban and peri-urban environment, and the risk of pollution of the marine and coastal environment associated with the exploitation of oil slicks at sea. Due to recurrent drought and overexploitation of forests for agricultural, pastoral, and energy, desertification is progressing at an alarming rate. Between 1974 and 2004, 50% of the national territory turned into desert. In terms of the proportion of terrestrial and marine protected areas, they represent 0.6% of the territory and are composed mainly of the 2 protected areas located along the shore of the Atlantic. These are the National Park Back of Argan, north, and the National Park Dwelling, the south. These 2 national parks are classified wetlands of global importance under the Ramsar Convention and are the only wildlife reserves and flora still well preserved because of that status. They have each a development and management plan whose implementation as the operation of the 2 parks is largely dependent on foreign aid. Water supplies are running out in the capital, Nouakchott, the desert capital of Mauritania, where it rains on average 6 days a year. The ancient underground lake that supplies the city is steadily shrinking unless the government builds a pipeline to bring fresh water from the Senegal River to the south, or a desalination plant to distill drinking water from the nearby Atlantic Ocean. Its taps will eventually run dry. There are rocks beneath the city contain a vast reservoir of fresh water. It's known as the Tarzana Lake. Over the past 43 years, this has supplied the capital's inhabitants with drinking water. The problem is, the capital was only planned to be a small town of 15,000 inhabitants. It is now 40 times larger, and the underground reservoir it sits upon is rapidly drying up, as I said. The Tarzana underground lake is not rain-fed, and so its water supply, although once large, is not renewable. Engineering studies have warned that its reserves could be used up completely in 50 years. Water still runs for most of the time in the taps of the wealthy, but it is chronically short supply in the dusty shanty towns where most of the population lives. The high cost of water has made bathing a luxury. Water is a luxury there. Some towns run completely dry during Mauritania's 8-month-long dry season. Things are so bad in Magda Lahar, a place not too far from the capital. The water has to be transported about 100 kilometers by truck. Local cattle herders are then forced to move their stock 150 kilometers south to the Senegal River, the only perennial river in the country. The Japanese government has been helping Mauritania to sink new boreholes in such areas. However, water experts say that these are all too often situated close to the homes of the friends and supporters of the president rather than in the locations where they would secure the best and most reliable water supply. Last year, the government announced that it had been awarded $270 million grant by the World Bank and a World of Islamic funds to embark to pipe water from the Senegal River to the capital, Nouakchott, and a large swath of southwestern Mauritania. The Aftat Sali project seeks to divert water from the river that marks Mauritania's southern border with Senegal and pump it through a purification unit before distributing it by pipeline. However, its implementation remains blocked because the government of Senegal has made its approval of the project conditional on the resolution of a separate long-standing water dispute between the two countries. Mauritania has a 400-kilometer coastline and the country's two largest cities, Nouakchott, the capital, and the northern port of Nadabu are both by the sea, so the construction of desalination plants has also been considered. That's it.